Hi guys, I hope all of you are doing really well. Before I begin the next part of my course, which is, of course, right now we are still continuing with the roots, I just want to thank all of you for being so participative and for answering all of the questions that I'm asking in the lessons. I hope that by giving you these small exercises, you are being able to learn and memorize these words because at the end of the day, my goal is that I should be able to add more words in your everyday spoken English and your diction becomes better. Okay, without wasting any further time, I am going to move on to the next set of letters, and we are going to be covering roots from the letters D and E today. But before I begin, in my previous lesson where we covered C, there were a lot of comments that I got, and I had actually asked a lot of questions also. One point that I noticed was that where we were talking about the root cap, and we used the word captivated. Guys, a lot of you have used the word captivated and used it in place of the word captured. So, captivated and captured are two different words. For instance, Satyavrata Mohanty, if you're hearing this, you have written a sentence called, "The territory was captivated by a powerful king." So, if you use the sentence in this sense that the king was captivated by the beauty of that territory, it makes sense. But if you were trying to say that the king had captured the territory, then captivated is the wrong word here. So you should be careful about that. Um, Another person who had used the word captivated incorrectly, I think, was Karthik. And Karthik, I can't see your sentence right now, but probably you should also try and use it in a different way. The main point over here is that captivate is not equal to captured. Okay, captivate means it's a verb which is used to describe the action of attracting somebody and then holding the attention or the interest of that person. For example, he was captivated by the beauty of Rome as a city. Okay, capture, on the other hand, is a verb that is used to describe the action of taking by force or to take control in certain situations. For instance, the photographer captured the joy of the bride and the groom in his pictures, or the local policeman had captured a couple of thieves. So captured is different and captivate is different. Having said that, I'll quickly move on to D now. So in D, the first set of roots that we have is DE, that is actually pronounced as D, and it can have a lot of different meanings. So D can mean down or out or apart also. For instance, look at the words that I have chosen here. Debase, that means to lower, and debilitate, which means to weaken. Guys, please focus on the pronunciation over here. It's debase and debilitate. Let me use both these words in the sentence for you so it's easier for you to understand. Also, a lot of you are saying that, ma'am, the root that you are explaining and the words that you are choosing and that you have chosen over here, they actually mean different. So, the roots can have a lot of different meanings, and the words that we make from those roots can also have a lot of different meanings. So, please do not get confused, guys. Moving on, the words that we can, the sentences that we can use with these words would be, okay, debilitate basically means when you make somebody very weak. जब आप किसी को बहुत कमज़ोर बना देते हो तो आप उसको debilitate कर रहे हो. For instance, he or John was severely debilitated by an upset stomach. Okay, so because he was physically unwell, he felt very weak. So debilitate means when you make somebody weak, or the weakening of somebody, किसी को टायर आउट कर देना, एग्जॉस्ट कर देना, डिबिलिटेट फील करना. या debase, on the other hand, if I have to use it in a sentence where I have written the meaning as lower, debase basically, I think the best example that I can give you would be the politician tried to debase his rival's good reputation by spreading false rumors about him. So you are lowering the person's reputation, in this case one of the politicians, by spreading false rumors about his rival. He's trying to debase him. So this is how you use the word debase. um, Another example of this sentence can be, whenever he was drunk, he would debase his wife by calling her cruel names. So, debase, if I have to give you as a synonym of the word debase, there can be a lot of them besides just to lower or to reduce something. The main point is that when you devalue something, जब किसी को degrade कर देते हो, किसी का status lower कर देते हो, you make somebody feel cheap, or you drag their reputation down. So that is what debase basically stands for. I hope it's clear, guys. Moving on, decade. Okay, have you said the word already? The root that we have here is DEC, which means 10 or 10th. So a decade is basically a period of 10 years. Funny part is 2017, the year in which we are currently sitting, if you have to count the decade, so from 2007 to 2017 is a decade. And can you believe it? Movies like Jab We Met or Chak De India or even Tare Zameen Par, they came out in 2007 and they are already 10 years old. So, wow, like if this doesn't make you feel old, then I don't know what will. Anyway, my point is not to make you feel old here in this lesson. My point is to make sure that you're learning more and more words of English language. And decade, I'm sure, is a word that you already knew. So I want you to give me two new words using the root DEC. The words do not have to start with DEC. They can even contain the word DEC or the root dec anywhere in between also. And mind it, December is not an option for you guys, okay? Next is demo or dem, which stands for people. Now, the point to note here is that demo is also used as a short form of demonstration, and a lot of times people use, especially if you go to buy something, then you want a demo of that thing. For instance, the demo of the latest kitchen appliance was a successful one. So when you go to one of these shops, you ask the shopkeeper that, hey, could you give us a demo of this thing? So that's how it works. But otherwise, demo stands for people. And the two words here that I have used here are pandemic and demographics. So pandemic basically means something that is widespread, and demographics, of course, is the study of people. Again, guys, over here, try to focus on the pronunciation. It is not demographics, it's demographics. So see where you have to give the stress. Demo. Okay, so the stress comes on the mo and not on the demo. Okay, so it's demographics. Demographics. Yeah, I hope this will help you correct the pronunciation if you haven't already. Now, pandemic is something that if you use pandemic as an adjective, which is in Hindi, I think called visheshan. So when you're describing the quality, of course, of something, then it becomes an adjective. And if you have to use pandemic before a disease, so it becomes something that means widespread or all pervasive, something that is prevalent all over the world or the country, right? That becomes a pandemic disease. But if you have to use it as a noun, that is sangya, pandemic basically is actually the outbreak of a pandemic disease. For instance, people would say an AIDS pandemic has spread. So one question I have for all of you over here is, what is the difference between pandemic and epidemic? So if you guys can find that out and tell me in the comments, I would be very happy to read them and learn more from all of you. So difference between pandemic and epidemic. Next is DIC or DICT, that is dict, which means to speak. So I had used the word diction earlier. Diction basically is the choice of words in speech or writing. remember in one of my earlier lessons, I had told you that my idea over here is to make sure that you use better, stronger words. So if you have to say something on the lines of I feel sad, you should be able to construct a more meaningful sentence, that I probably feel weighed down, or I'm feeling morose because of XYZ circumstances. So that's why I am trying to add newer words in your diction. That's the idea. So literally the words or the phrases that you choose when you are speaking, the expressions, your vocabulary, the language, the wording, your style of speaking, all of that together, it is your diction, the way you speak, the choice of words that you have. The next one is predict. Predict is to foretell something. Of course, predict, you all know that a fortune teller can predict your future, but we don't know how true that can be. Next one is indict. Again, the pronunciation is different over here. Indict is to accuse somebody of a wrong. So indict, notice the pronunciation here, it becomes different. So indict basically means when you accuse a third person of, and it's actually more of a formal word, where you formally accuse somebody or charge them with a crime. For example, John's ex manager was indicted for fraud by his company. So he was indicted means he was charged with some crime or accused of something, right? Next is doc or doct, which means teach as a root. The words that I have chosen here are doctrine, which is a body of principles. To explain that, here is a sentence. Since his religion is based on a doctrine that forbids divorce, he will be barred from the church if he leaves his wife. So, doctrine basically is a set of principles, a body of principles. We say every religion has its own doctrines. That's how we use it. Docile, on the other hand, means quiet and easy to control. Look up the word docile online, try to use it in a sentence, write that sentence in the comments, and I will go through it. Next is dole, D-O-L, which means pain. Now, the words that I have used here, I love these words. I think I was just talking about that, right? I feel sad. So you can even use a word like doleful. It's such a beautiful way to express this emotion. Doleful also means sad. If I have to use it, or if I have to go in a bit more detail, I would say doleful can be mournful. Doleful can be something that's depressed or wretched or miserable. So that's how you use the word doleful. It's obviously, it means sad, but we are using it as a synonym here to express a certain kind of sadness. Dolorous, dolorous also again becomes another form of this. It means full of grief. I have used a sentence here. At the funeral, the dolorous widow could not stop crying. So if we have to imagine, when you're feeling sad, you can feel sad because you have not got your favorite ice cream. But if somebody has died, you're feeling dolorous, you're feeling doleful. So थोड़ा ज़्यादा extreme sadness को denote करने के लिए we have words like these. Indolent is the next word over here. I'm not going to tell you its meaning. This is a part of your homework. You find out its meaning, use it in a sentence, and then get back to me on this. Yeah? Now, next is E, and there are a couple of words, and I won't be able to finish it in this lesson. So I'm going to record another lesson and go through the words, the roots, starting with the letter E. So stay tuned for the next lesson. It's coming up very, very soon. Thank you so much for listening to this, guys.